Welcome back to episode something. Could be 10, could be 9, could be 11. Who knows?
Could
9,
be
11.
or 11. It is
Oh,
today's
good,
date,
yeah.
maybe.
Welcome back. Episode of Save Point Podcast.
Woo.
It is a newish sort of set. We don't know what we're doing with this yet.
As usual.
As usual, we
This is the 6th iteration of
the
choices.
space we have to film in here is good, but it's just half a meter too narrow. And if it was wider, we would have a much better result with basically everything we do. But we don't because we live in Australia, so finding any sort of housing or any sort of office space or anything like that is impossible without paying an arm and leg, and we already do pay an arm and leg.
And even when you pay that arm and leg, it's a lucky dip on what you're actually getting.
We're back, baby. Woo! And we've got a couple of things we want to talk about today.
Yes.
I don't remember them.
Well, let's start with, we've got a question from someone we work with.
Why did you say that? This is from a viewer.
This is from a fan.
They're also a
This is
viewer
our
and a
number
fan.
one
Wait, give me a second. Try that again. Yo, we've got a question from a viewer.
How much time needs to pass, or what criteria needs to be met for it to be okay to spoil a game?
Okay.
Can you do the thing again?
All right.
Try that again.
Yeah. Condense it. So
please.
before we started filming a couple of hours ago, we were talking about how Brock is really bad at explaining stuff.
Yeah,
where
6 words and then just say the bottom bit.
where, hey, 4 words, can somehow expand into 40 and ask the same thing. Brock is like me when I used to do my university essays and I need to hit the word count and I would expand one tiny thing
Any
into as many
conjunction
words.
into the full word.
Yep.
I just put white font at the bottom and just random letters.
Oh, God, yeah.
All right. How old does a game have to be in order to not spoil it?
Who's it from? Who's the question from? You got to start all over again.
From Jacob.
Okay, let's go again.
Oh,
No. So the question is, how old does a game need to be before you can spoil it and it's socially acceptable without people getting angry?
yeah.
I don't think the acceptable part will ever come in because people are always going to bitch and
They're
moan
always going to
about
pick
it.
up a stink about it regardless.
I reckon a decade.
I'll
A
say
decade
less than that.
Yeah.
It depends
I'm
on the
with you.
franchise.
A decade, and you can't have any bitching or any moaning. It's been plenty.
Yeah.
Depends on the franchise. So, for example,
yep.
it is like I don't know. We were talking about Halo earlier today. Say you spoiled Halo 1 and the newest Halo was out and it was a good gateway to get people in. That might suck.
Which is exactly what happened to some of my friends. They all sat down to play the Master Chief Collection when it came out, and 3 of them hadn't played it. And then one of the friends joined the party and was like, "Oh, do you know what happens at the end?" And then instead of waiting for a response, it just spoiled the entirety of the franchise.
Do you know what happens?
I know I can't remember off the top of my head, but I have know what happens. But
Okay.
then they all just stopped playing because they didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, that sucks because Halo is such a good narrative game-wise.
And you're avoiding spoiling it right now.
Yeah, because I want him to fully experience it at one point.
Yeah, I will play it. But
See, look, that's a unique one. And there's another game I'm about to say, which we've talked about a billion times, which I'm not going to say what happens because I want you to experience it, which is Call of Duty Black Ops 1.
the numbers, what do they mean?
What do they mean, Mason?
Exactly right.
Yeah,
You don't know
yeah.
yet.
I don't know because I don't particularly care.
it doesn't
I
matter.
have no emotional tie to it whatsoever.
Yeah, the thing is, so
You haven't lived it.
I don't know if I told you, I mentioned it a little bit before. The other night I was like, you know what? Black Ops 6 just came out recently and I want to go back and experience that first campaign. I didn't have any way to really play it without buying it again on Steam, which I don't really want to do. Didn't want to.
I think.
Yeah, whatever. I didn't
Okay,
want
you
to
pay
down.
Game
Yeah,
Pass.
exactly. I didn't want to hook up the 360 again and plug it all in because I didn't know where everything was. It's like, okay, I just want to get the story. I watched someone do a let's play of it. Shout out to I'm Dante. He's a big streamer. He did like a playthrough of it, and I just skipped through that. I loved it. I couldn't believe how good it was. Going back and playing that. Well, I didn't play it, but experiencing that story, I was like, this is better than I remember it being. There was things that if I was older, I probably would have been able to put things together a bit quicker and things like that. But then I was like, oh, there's a lot of set pieces, a lot of things they're doing. Like, this is really cool, especially for back then.
Yeah. Especially what came after it as well.
Yes. But that's a great game. I don't want to spoil that for people. That is detached from besides Black Ops 2. Oh,
Yeah.
actually, they're all interconnected, but they're not.
3 is not really the same. It is the same story, but it
Cold
doesn't
War is. This new one is like they got some connecting characters. It's really only 1 and 2.
have 1 and 2 are the same, and then 3 is just a spin.
But one can be completely its own thing, and you don't have to worry about it. But I don't like people spoiling that.
I don't know. I always look at it as if a game's more than 5 years old, and I've likely already seen like spoilers for it just through like, online and other people talking about and that. Unless it's a game I was planning to play myself, I don't care that much. Particularly if it's an online game or if it's a multiplayer only game, then it's just like, no, I don't care. If it's a single player game that I'd be playing through at my own pace, then I can understand getting a bit annoyed, but not to the level that some people do. Like some people still get upset if you spoil Final Fantasy 7.
No, that's
It's
dumb though.
It is. That game's like, what, 30 years old now?
This, not quite that old.
97?
It's getting close.
No, don't. I'm almost. No, stop. It's 27 years. If it's 97, it's 27. So I'm almost.
Yeah, he doesn't want to think about that.
Halfway to 50.
God, that's disgusting.
You're like a year and a half younger than me.
So, still younger, baby. Woo! No, but that's what we were talking about when this got brought up to, when our viewer mailed in and we sat there together and looked at this question.
Yeah, we opened the mailbag. Yeah,
We did.
Email.
The thing is, that's a little bit of a different scenario because they've just remade those games.
Yes.
And they've split up into 3 things, which is egregious to start with, but people are experiencing that story for the first time now. And if you have played 2 of those 3 games that are coming out, you like a lot of people are like, I'm just going to wait for the other one instead of go play the original. I think that's fair.
Nah, I don't. It's like when like the Count of Monte Cristo. How many different iterations are there, or how many times has that been filmed?
At the
And each
same
one,
time,
they're all like. I know there's little differences between some of them, but if you go and see the Count of Monte Cristo, you likely already have seen or heard of the other ones, and so you would know what happened.
All right.
If I go and buy Final Fantasy VII, reintegrate, remaster, whatever they're all called, even if I hadn't
disagree.
played the original, I would know just through pop culture what happens in that.
I disagree because I think a lot of people who are playing these new Final Fantasy games are not the target audience of the original ones.
No, they're built for the people today, not
Yeah,
for
they are
people
like
who are playing
hack and
that.
slash type of third-person action games opposed to a JRPG. I think it's a very
I know the
different-
mechanics are different, but I still think that most of the people buying it already know what happened, even if they never
Hey,
played the
there's a
original.
lot of people that would, but there's a lot of people that wouldn't. For example, I know of what happens in Final Fantasy VII. Someone who's never played it, but I'm fairly into games. I've got a dumb gaming podcast that 4 people listen to. But like, for example, Ben, do you know what happens in
No,
Final Fantasy?
couldn't care
Exactly. Like there's a ton of people like that, and I know that's a bit. I think it's just one of the very unique scenarios. But at the same time, how would have you felt if in 2000, 2001, you went to go sit down to watch Lord of the Rings, and someone comes up and spoils the whole thing?
Because they
Already-
read the books.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, but-
I'd already read the books. I knew what happened.
But the thing is, how many people would read the books that watched that movie? A percentage of a percentage of a percentage.
Had read Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Yeah, the people who watched it in the cinema for the first time probably. I mean, there was obviously a lot
Okay.
of fans, but there's a lot of people who just went into it and going, "This is going to be."
I'm
a
not
cool
saying
movie."
these aren't extremely popular books, but if you think that a large majority of the people that watched Lord of the Rings,
It's less
had
than
read it,
50%, I'll give you that. But it wasn't. It's not going to be like, oh, it's only like 2% of people that saw the movies. Like, no, way
don't know,
more
man.
than that. It would close to like 40, maybe 45% of people would have read the entire series.
I won't lie, I think you're the first person I know that has read those books. Has James read them?
He owns them. I don't think he's read them.
He's probably the biggest Lord of the Rings fan I know.
Well, he doesn't read
Yeah,
in general, but
that's
he
the
has
thing.
the books.
The thing is,
The movies were the gateway.
Movies are such a larger audience than literature. It always has been that way.
This hurts me.
Yeah, it should.
Hey, I'm not disagreeing, but you can't expect everyone to have read something for that. Did you read all the? I mean, you might have. But did you read all the Harry Potter books before you watched those movies?
Yes, because the books came out well before
they
the
did.
movies.
They came
You're
out
also
I remember.
yes old.
But the thing is, that I reckon there was a high percentage of people that read the Harry Potter books, and then watched the movies. But I can still tell you a large percentage of people didn't read those books at all.
See, I have read most of them. I read Half-Blood Prince after seeing the movie because I was like, that was cool, and there's so much they missed.
Yeah.
And then Deathly Hallows came out, and I started reading it. And then one of the girls at school was like, "Oh, he dies at the end." While I'm reading Deathly Hallows, assuming I had rereading the book, and then I went into the movies knowing that Harry was going to die.
What do you mean? Assuming you reread the book, why did you say did he know?
No, she goes, he dies at the back at the end, and I was like,
Heck.
cool. I'm just not going to finish reading this now because I'm just going to.
But then also at the same time, Harry Potter is way more of a contemporary piece of literature, which those books were coming out as the movies came out.
I mean, the first movie came out when the third book was out, I think.
Because the first few books were really.
It was like
quick.
book, and then every 2.5 years. there was a
But
movie.
then it started getting
Because I think
breaks.
7 came
Where
out.
things like, for example, Game of Thrones, I know heaps of people that have read Game of Thrones because they wanted to get up past the show.
Yeah.
Look where that's got you, idiots, thinking that he's going to write another book.
But he's been writing it for 10 years now?
He's been writing it before
longer.
since the show started, I'm pretty sure. I never got into Game of Thrones.
I didn't either, and then I binged it when I had COVID. And I watched all the show in like 3 weeks. Outstanding.
What was that?
He thought I was going to high five him because I'm not interested in Game of Thrones, and then I thought,
I'm in the minority with that.
I was the same. I was like, it doesn't interest me. Very good TV.
But you understand what I'm saying, right? I mean, like,
Logically I do, but there's also that emotional part where I'm just like, no, that's not right.
yeah, I know, I get that, and that's
because back in your day there weren't good movies.
Like so many things that.
There's just books.
There's so many things where I'm like, why aren't you reading the source material, looking at this instead of this? I mean, you see it a lot with anime, where people like get really into like, oh, what's the most recent example? What was a big westernized anime recently? Oh, what was it? Or something on Netflix. I could be wrong, or if I forget.
Dungeon, the thing, Dungeon Diner or whatever it was.
Oh no!
How to cook in a dungeon or something.
No, that's
definitely not it.
No, but you know what I mean. There's like live action. Oh, what? No, what?
Attack on Titan did it. People at uni did the same thing.
I'm not a fan of it, but One Piece. The amount of people.
Yeah.
Okay, how many people do you think have read One Piece opposed to watch
Oh,
that
the actual
show?
manga? No,
Yeah.
not many. But then how many people went and watched the anime to get ahead of the live action, and then realized exactly how much of that there was?
Yeah, but I mean, like, that's still an example. It's not the source material.
Well,
but
now-
yeah, there's a lot more people because it's a lot easier to digest. It's like, I click this, I watch Lord of the Rings.
It's a passive medium as opposed to
I've got to sit down, focus, which most people can't.
Well, I'm contemplating watching Dragon Ball because I liked the gameplay from Sparking Zero.
Well, I'd really recommend Dragon Ball.
Yes.
Love Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball is the reason.
Am I ever going to read
so
it?
much.
No, but that's.
Dragon Ball's a good read though. I haven't read Dragon Ball. I've got a couple of
I've never read this, but it's a good read.
No, I've got a couple of volumes in there. I've got one of the big
Omnibuses?
No, it's not omnibus. One of the big volumes that was like it was like 3 volumes put together. So I don't know if you hate
Megabus.
So unlike comics, every week a new chapter of a manga will come out. Dragon Ball was in Shonen Jump, which is the biggest magazine for. That's what heaps of manga is in. That's what One Piece, Naruto, Bleach, all those big shows were in. Heaps of shows are in it. Every week they would have a chapter. Then once there was enough chapters, they would release a volume, which is like usually about like 10 to 15 chapters, and they would make it an actual book, and they'd release that in the shops. They might redo the art, like touch it up, things like that, because they don't have the week time schedule. This book that I had was like 3 volumes. You can get like bigger omnibus things with like 8 volumes.
I think they had all the Bleach ones when we did Comic Con, and there was so many.
There's a
they were
lot
thick
of
too.
Bleach. Yeah.
So a lot less than the other ones, but
yeah.
I love Bleach so much. But
it's really good. Yeah.
But yeah, this was like it was when Goku versus Vegeta, and it was all of them in color. And reading that was like, oh, this is sick. The coloring was really well done. I bought it when Dimix was going out of I was about to say fashion, but I think it's more out of business.
No one likes written media anymore.
Yeah, no, but it was really cool. I was like, this is one of the best drawn manga I could do. There's so many angles and things that I wouldn't have thought of, and they might look very basic now, but going back to early 90s, late 80s, it's like, this is way more digestible than a lot of stuff.
Well,
keep going.
back to original question, or at least back in line with the original question. Are there any games that...
Let's expand this to not gaming. Yeah.
Yep. Is there any media that you would have been particularly upset if someone had, like for you, you're saying Harry Potter. Is there any others that you would have been really upset if someone spoiled it for you?
I mean, there's probably quite a few I can think of, but I mean, with Game of Thrones, because it was such a failure at the end, I saw nothing but how bad season 8 was, and then I watched it. Wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be, but I think it's because I wasn't waiting week to week to watch the episode and get disappointed. I binged it all on binge in 3 weeks and was like,
which
cool.
Also, that's a big thing compared to when I was a kid waiting for stuff to come out to now these days waiting for stuff to come out. Stuff comes out in batches. It used to be that you had to wait. I'll watch this episode, now I've got to wait a week for it to come on again.
I still watch TV that does that.
I don't want to derail us too much, but I mean, this is very specific to Australian thing. I remember not being able to even watch shows or being able to get them because we just didn't have access to it.
Yeah.
Being an anime fan, man, I mean, you couldn't watch anything.
No.
There was nothing. There was no way to watch anything unless you stayed up and watched SBS late one night or ABC.
Well,
that is
super
where
early to watch like Toaster TV, and they had some shows on.
They had a couple shows on Toaster TV.
That is where I saw my
TV.
first anime. Was I happened to be up late at my grandmother's once and turn on the TV, and she'd been watching something on SBS, and Neon Genesis came on.
Neon Genesis, even
and
going,
she happened to come out, see the TV was on, and it was probably, I don't know, some bathing scene or something. Like they had a, what's her name, Asaka or Asuka or whatever her name. Yeah.
I saw you.
I can't remember the names because I didn't end up watching any more of
I
it.
watched them in a very long time.
They had some scene like that on, and my grandmother freaked. But yeah. And then the next actual anime I watched after that would have been Dragon Ball and then Bleach.
Oh, so you've watched Bleach?
Yes.
This is my favorite scene from Evangelion. I'm so fucked up. I'm not putting that on the screen.
If no one can see, it is just a hand with white goo all over it.
It's the start of End of Evangelion, if people know that scene.
No spoilers.
Yeah.
It was
But
actually
no,
just
is
a photo
there
of Tom in his bathroom, but go on.
any others like that would have been spoiled for you?
Nothing was
that you'd be
spoiled
upset
for.
about?
Oh, heaps of stuff. I mean, like, if I was spoiled Metal Gear, I'd kill a bitch.
Big one, I mean, I've already had it spoiled because everyone talks about it as soon as you like look up stuff online to try and figure out where stuff's hidden. Red Dead Redemption 2. I haven't finished it yet, but I know what happens at the end. Yeah.
See, that is one of the games where I got it and then I did nothing but play that. So, because I know it's going to be a.
You played Red Dead 1 though.
No.
You didn't play Red Dead 1.
I didn't have an Xbox when it came out.
You keep talking about Undead Nightmare like it's the best thing ever.
Yes, because I know it's good because I've watched people play it.
Oh,
I
you
haven't.
played it.
I haven't sat there and played it myself. But
Do you know
I've
the
watched
story of Red Dead 1? Have you like watched
Yes.
it? Okay. Well, I reckon it's worth going through Red Dead 2 because I think the big
100%.
things, the things that you think you're getting spoiled for, I sort of assumed. Like, okay, so Red Dead. When did Red Dead 2 come out?
2018.
I'm going to say, I think it was 2018. I think you're right about that. I think you're good on that one. You're the numbers man this episode.
Should have probably held off on that high five. God, yeah.
2018, October 26, 2018. So, over 6 years ago. I'm spoiling the ending.
We said 5 years.
Yeah. What?
We know, well, for the spoiler thing, depending on the
Yeah, okay, well, whatever. But either way,
it's not even really a spoiler. I know what you're going to say. It's not really a spoiler, though, if you played the first game.
It is, but basically, spoiling Red Dead right now. Do I have any, like, an alarm sound? That's close enough. Arthur Morgan, the main character, dies at the end of the game. If you played Red Dead 1, it takes place after and he's not in the game or mentioned at all.
Yeah.
So it's sort of assumed. Doesn't mean he's not.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't, but
There's a few
it's
characters who aren't
assumed.
mentioned in.
If you can put two and two together, he's not in.
Yes.
Yeah.
there, so many people. Actually, this is sort of an example of reading the source material, but in a different sense. So many people who played Red Dead 2 never played the first one.
Yeah.
It's a minority of people played the first one. It was still a very successful
I played
game.
parts of it. I didn't finish the story. I like robbing trains.
A lot of people, I saw this when Red Dead 2 came out, loved it. They didn't like it right at the end of the game. They're like, oh, there's all this stuff you've got to do right at the end, and it's really boring. And it's like, as someone who played the first game, that was some of my favorite part of the whole game. Because it was all following John Marston and his stuff.
Yeah,
And-
which I know all that happens because I've had it spoiled.
See, I was
but I'm still looking forward to do it.
Yes, so I reckon as someone who's experienced the first one, at least in some sort of facet, you will enjoy that.
Oh, I know I'm going
The
to enjoy
final mission of the game, the final one,
Outstanding.
is my favorite one of the whole game.
The music
Yes, the music goes hard because it
goes into the
original game music. It doesn't play the original, but it's like newer versions
Yeah.
of it, like what they do in Halo.
no.
But that was hectic.
Yeah. See, I hadn't played like any of the story from Red Dead 1. I just used to ride around and ride horses and stuff.
See, not to cut you off too much, Rockstar have always done amazing stories, but when I feel like games that have done the best stories ever, I don't think of them.
No.
I think Red Dead 2 is immensely good, and it deserves to be up there because it is so consistently good.
Yes.
But when I think of a good story, I think of games that have way more peaks and valleys and like emotional. I'm not saying
Yeah.
they've got like really shit parts. Some of them do. And I don't think of Rockstar games like GTA 5's got a great story, but
Yeah.
it's just great. It's not
No, it's
outstanding.
nothing to
GTA
write
4's
home
got a
about.
great story. It's not. You
But
know what I mean?
that
yeah.
was
There's stories that you really wanted to see what happened next, but they're not things that are going to, like, 20 years down the line, you're going to be like, oh, remember the story? No, you'll remember the gameplay. You'll remember like little bits and pieces of it, but you won't remember the story.
I'm not turning off my console or my PC or whatever and still thinking about the story
Yeah.
after that much, where there's other games where I'm like, fuck, like, what happened with this? Or I wonder if this could happen, or blah, 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 blah. Which I would have stuff like that with like Metal Gear and
Yeah.
things like that. But I don't know how we got fully onto this.
Because
Red
we're
Dead's a
talking
good
about
game.
stuff that was spoiled for you, and I mentioned that it's been
Oh,
spoiled
yeah, Red
for
Dead.
me. But there's a lot of games where, like, I've played the sequels, I haven't played the originals, but I already knew what happened in the originals
Yeah.
because of just pop culture. Everyone talked
Yeah.
about it when it came out.
But does playing the second one entice you to go back and play the original?
This is a
Some of them,
unique scenario where you can,
yes.
yeah.
and I think they deliberately did that.
Some of them, maybe. Not a lot of them, though. Very rarely will I feel the need to go back and play. If I've played the sequel, will I feel the need to go back and play the original game because I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, what am I missing out on? Because not every single time, not every sequel is better than the original, but mechanically, usually you have quality of life changes, you have improvements there
Yes,
where
where
going
it's hard
back,
to go back.
yeah, it's clunky to go back and play the original.
Not to keep harping on about Metal Gear, but I did that. I
Mm-hmm.
went back, and that's actually an interesting thing. I started playing. My first Metal Gear was Metal Gear Solid 3. Started playing that, and I hated it. Absolutely hated it.
You had no idea what was going on.
Well, not even story wise, because that's one of the games. That is the only game where you can go into it and not know anything because it is a prequel. Then I was like, no, I'm not about this. Started playing Metal Gear Solid 2, and I loved it. And then I went back to play 3 and fucking loved it.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. It was like I can't play this game. Did I waste money? And then I went back, played 2, loved it. 3, yep, and then went back to play 1 and loved it. They're all. I'm dying. Every episode I've got phlegm in my throat. Too much talking.
He's kept us here for 9 days straight. We haven't left.
That was my death rattle. But I don't know what my point was. Metal Gear's epic. But there's those games, they had enough different in them, I feel like, where it was fun to go back.
Yeah.
The jump from Metal Gear Solid 1 to 2 graphically is insane. Gameplay wise, it's not much different, but still fun to go back and play 1 because you just need to have those good story as well, but good gameplay enough that it's not feeling like it's a de-evolution. good enough that you could. And there's a lot of, but I'm with you. There's a lot of games where you just can't. 'Cause it's like this was such an upgrade.
Like I wouldn't think you'd go back and play any of the old GTAs anymore after
No.
5. And like with online, it's still
think-
improving.
I mean,
4.
they remastered not the original trilogy, but 3, Vice City, and
The
San
original
Andreas.
3D trilogy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still not going to go back and play them again.
No.
Well, they did not handle well
No.
at all. Like the San Andreas one did. I've heard, like, I've got a few friends who bought it and they said it was fine because it was just they got to do what they wanted to do in
Yeah.
San Andreas again, and that was it. Go around, eat fat food, and
Yeah, that was
Number
something
9.
that.
Yeah, there's, I don't know. Particularly if they've got, what's the other one that I was like, no, I'm never going to go back and play that.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
that's a good one.
Nah, sorry,
I've also got that.
brain stopped.
Yeah, that's new for you.
Yeah, never happens to me.
But yes, I can't think of any of the games that I would like to go back and play.
Yeah, but ones that would be spoiled, that I would be worried about would be just stuff like that.
So like the God of War when they remastered or added the new generation onto that for 2018 and Ragnarok. I played the originals. I wouldn't go back and play them again now to add on to the story.
Yeah,
That's the one I was going to say.
No, in your head.
God of War. If I was going to go, because I haven't played any of the God of Wars, if I was going to go play them, I'd play the 2018 and
Yeah.
Ragnarok. I wouldn't go back and play the originals.
you wouldn't need to. They're so different games.
Yeah.
Different, and you get enough background in both those games and Valhalla.
And also,
that
again,
there's enough.
It's
just
almost like what you
cultural osmosis. You've just absorbed most of.
It's almost like what you said earlier. I don't know if it was on episode or not. About they shouldn't have the name attached to it. Those games could be a completely different game.
Yes.
They don't need to be God of War, but I fully understand why it's God of War. Most likely, the only reason it was made is because it has God of War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is God of War.
It was one of the
trying to remember what I said
PS4
that
launch
about.
titles, wasn't it?
No,
Oh, the,
no, it was well and truly after, man.
It's PS2, the original.
obviously, I know that. The 2018 one, but
Yeah,
PS4 came out
I
like
think God of War
2000.
3 was maybe a PS3 launch title. Actually, no, it wasn't. That was like no, it wasn't. God of War 2 was out while the PS3 was already out, so it couldn't be.
They had so many games with the God of War.
But you know what?
There's
I'm
a
going to be
lot,
completely
yeah.
honest.
And a lot of spin-offs as well.
I'm going to be completely honest. I think those first God of War games, story-wise, not bad, not great. And I think the new ones, I think the second one is way better for story. They're great thematically. They're really good story games. Not a ton happens in that first game.
No, it builds to
It's
the second one.
setting. It's setting
It up. The second one has way more happen, which I think that was a way more impactful hit.
Yeah.
Because of that, I still enjoyed the first game a bit more because there
Yeah.
wasn't as many.
There was less
crap
to do, but you didn't
parts.
feel like stretched out doing
Yeah.
everything because there's so many sections in Ragnarok. That
I don't know how I feel about those games. They're great games, but they both have things where I immediately, when I think about them, was like, oh, I hated that. Like in the first game, the Elfheim
yeah.
part was so annoying. It stopped. It stopped about 3 separate other playthroughs I had after my first one. Because like, oh, I hated this part. And then the second one, the bloody
stupid walking through the bog.
yeah, the
with
yak
yeah.
bullshit when you're playing as Atreus and that girl or whatever. Oh, that did my head in.
You just slows. You go down from all action to going to collect berries and leaves, and it's
And it was like,
Which again,
it was like-
spoilers. I haven't played any of this.
oh no,
so-
but it's like a
is a-
couple
yeah, I
hours
know.
worth.
I know, but it's also and like I'm not again, as I said before. Ragnarok hasn't, but been longer than 5 years. I'm not that fussed if it gets spoiled because parts of it, the big important parts, have been spoiled anyway. Same way I haven't seen any of the Matrix movies, but I don't care if
You
people
really
like.
need to watch the first one.
Yeah, apparently it's the best one, but it's
I
also
like
like I
two.
don't care
reasons
if
why I like
people
two,
tell
though.
me what happens in it because it's like cultural osmosis. I've heard most of it already.
yeah.
Neo, what do the numbers mean?
Spoiler: rearrange the letters of Neo. He's the one.
There was something else I was going to say on a different game.
Oh, I
as well.
didn't know that.
Yeah. Actually,
Yeah, imagine that. Me talking things.
that wasn't to you at all, but that's okay.
Okay, well, I'm just feeling dead air then.
We're not sponsored by Jack Hungry, by the way.
But if you want to give us COD points and skins for buying,
Yeah,
your
were
food,
we getting anything cool for that?
Not
Oh
yet,
no,
I
we
don't-
would have probably got that when we went to get it if we did.
No,
Oh well.
I don't think they're doing it yet.
Yeah.
Domino's did something a few years back for one of them.
Oh, we've got Domino's up the road. We can get that.
Mm.
We've got Domino's up the road here from our office, so we can get it all sorted.
Yeah, get it before we get home.
Yeah, before we go home.
What were you thinking, Brock?
Does Brock think?
Well, do we have any other thoughts on spoilers?
Spoiling. No, I think I do. Because I haven't spoken enough, so I need to speak some more. But no, I think it's dependent. There's certain things where it would suck if something was spoiled. Like, well, for example, what if it was a series where there's a new entry of it, and it's been ages?
If it's been ages, I mean, well, going to God of War again, how long was it between the 2018? What was the previous title?
It was God of War 3. Oh, there's Ascension, but there's a prequel.
Essentials, Chains of Olympus. There's like,
but no,
they're not
direct sequel 3 to God of War 2018, which is God of War 4.
Yeah, so how, like 10 years longer?
No, it was like it's shorter than that.
I think
it was 2011 or 2012, I think. I'm gonna say 2011. Lock in 2011. But that's not super long, but it felt like a long
2010.
time.
Yeah.
2010. Okay.
8 years. But
8
then
years.
they've also, it's a big jump.
Yeah. I swear I play more games than just Metal Gear. But Metal Gear Solid, or Metal Gear 2 to Metal Gear Solid was, I think 8 years, 9 years. It was something fairly big. Big jump in technology, things like that. Well, actually, I mean, like Metal Gear Solid 4 to Metal Gear Solid 5. Metal Gear Solid 4 to Metal Gear Solid 5 was 8 years.
What did the numbers mean?
Yeah, it was 2008 to 2016. There was a game in the middle that was on the PSP that is canon, and it's an extremely good game. But I sort of forgive that because, I mean, who's going to go around and play PSP games? Even though Peace Walker is an amazing game.
Baldur's Gate 3 from Baldur's Gate 2. I think Baldur's Gate 2 was 2002.
But the thing is, it's just the same universe. It's not like a continuing story.
It is, though.
And I think that...
Yeah, the plot points from the second one are in the third one
Yeah, but
as well.
is it the main thing? Is it like...
No.
That's what I mean. It's not like it is this game, here's the second one, you need to play this to understand this. Like, if it's the same world and there's things connecting, like Elder Scrolls games, where some of them is like, plot points from this game are in this game.
You're probably the closest with that one. But then again, you could say the same thing about Dragon Age with the latest one coming out.
Don't care.
It references all the previous ones, and that was the other thing I was going to say. Never mind. Stay on topic.
No, you can say it.
I'll say it at the end. And now you've thrown me off what I was going to say. Thanks.
Dragon Age and all
Dragon
that.
Age.
Dragon Age, like, each game is only tangentially connected to the previous ones just through, like, some of the same characters are mentioned, some of the same big bads
I don't consider that as a
direct sequel.
Yes,
it's not.
it's same universe, same world.
You were saying about not wanting to go back and play through God of War because of, like, the bog and all of that. That's Dragon Age, the original one for me. I love that game.
You've talked about that.
But there's a section in it, the Fade, where it's a slog. It slows down everything. It should only be like, hey, this is a 10-minute sequence. It's not. It's like an hour or more.
Yeah.
And the most popular mods for the PC version is just to skip that entire section.
Yeah.
Are you going to play the new Dragon Age?
I've been watching Laura play it. I have it ready to play.
Have you seen the controversy around it?
I've seen some of the controversies around it, and some of them I was like, that's people just barking up, going, I want to make an issue about a thing that I barely understand or I think should be more of an issue. People should learn just to step back and be like, it's not for me. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm fully with you. This could go into another topic. We don't want to get too political or anything like that, but
Let's do it.
do you think... I mean, it is art and it's to express yourself and things like that, but should, I don't know, political ideals or opinions should be pushed into games?
Okay. So,
I just did a big fart, by the way.
yeah, you can keep that one to yourself.
That's not how that works.
It should be. That's been a common thing I've seen time and time again. People being like, oh, games are too political, blah, blah, blah. those same people complain that are usually the ones who are like, the politics in games is bad. They were never this political back then. I remember playing Fallout. It never had any politics. And it's like, you're missing the entire point of it then.
The whole thing about this is
Yeah.
anti-war, anti-nukes. But I think the thing that people might get a bit more pissed about these days is it's a bit more blatantly pushed in your face.
Oh,
It
100%.
is. I'd argue that's because people
People will kick up a stink if it's not pushed in your face.
because they either miss it or people were, I mean, I'm not going to say people were smarter. People nowadays, when you're like playing something, you said it earlier today, you want something where you can just turn your brain off and just chill with. You don't really want to sort of look at all the subtext and have to be thinking all the time on it. I remember watching. Now I'm going to have to stop and think. But
You can't stop and think. This is a podcast
yeah, well, if you start talking, I can.
about something I know nothing about.
What I was going to say is, I think that's a problem. Hey, there's a lot of people out there who are just going to complain because they want to complain.
Yes.
Like someone we saw earlier tonight,
I don't know who you're talking about here, but maybe.
where we got dinner in the car park.
Oh, there was a lady just being a Karen standard.
She wasn't complaining. She was more
Oh,
just
she was
thinking,
trying to-
She was
thinking
trying to
she
get
was
a
being
reaction
helpful,
out of
but
something.
if she'd, yeah.
No one knows that. I think the thing that most people, or not most, but people are getting a bit annoyed about maybe politics or ideals in games these days being pushed in your face is because it's probably being pushed a bit, not, I shouldn't say too much, but they're being very
Upfront about it.
upfront about it and keeping on it too much. I
Yeah.
think that's the idea some people get. There's people who will just be like, well, the big thing in Dragon Age, there was a trans character. And
Which there's
people
been-
are having a hissy fit about, which is like, who cares? Like, whatever.
There's been trans characters in all the other titles, I believe.
I think the thing that people are getting pissed about is that there's a scene and they draw it out and they really push it a lot.
Yep.
I'm not saying that's right or wrong. Oh my god, there's so much crap in my
Isn't
throat.
there a punishment for misgendering the character?
There is. That's
I haven't seen that. bit
that's
yet.
the thing that people are having a go about. There's like a very long dialogue. I shouldn't say very long, but there's a dialogue sequence where it's about misgendering, and then you should go and do push-ups if you misgender someone, and
There should be a
it's-
punishment for what you've done
It should
wrong.
be a punishment.
Which-
You can't just say sorry. It's something where it's really pushed in your face, and I think that's what people are getting offended by. I shouldn't even say offended because that just sounds wrong.
Look, can I say something? And
We are on a podcast. Go on.
I know not everyone's going to agree with it. And I know that this metaphor, I'm going to say, even though it's not really a metaphor, is simplifying it to, like, it is taking out a lot of context.
We
and
don't
it
have
is-
the time to like fully articulate what you're trying
If
to say.
someone
Yeah, I
tells
fully get
you their name is Jane and you keep calling them Jim after they've told you, hey, my name's Jane, not Jim, you're an asshole. End it. Like, it's, and
not-
again, I
it's
know
not
I'm
hard.
simplifying it very, very down to base levels there. But if someone tells you, hey, this is me, and you go, well, I'm going to call you that instead because that's what you used to be called.
Yeah.
That's not your name anymore. If I can go and legally change my name, why is it so hard for you to?
Oh, we've
then-
got I've got a friend who changed their last name and hates being called their old last name. Someone who comes over and visits this place a lot.
Yes.
This place, our factory, where we have our little children slaves.
Make our iPhones. Before we skip
Which-
over that,
No, I was going back to
Okay,
that.
good.
No, what I was saying, I think the reason people were getting pissed about this Dragon Age one, at least, I think it's blown over by now. No one really cares. But at least what I was seeing on Twitter was I watched the scene and it went for like 5 minutes about misgendering this character. The person who did it was like, it was just a slip up in their head and like, oh, sorry, I didn't even mean that type of thing. But what they went over, they did these push-ups, 10 push-ups, which I think they only did 5. They said they did 10, they only did 5. And I was like, that's what annoys me the most. Your continuity in the game is wrong. And then talked about it for a long time and really pushed it. And I won't lie, it did seem like very much pushing an agenda on people, which I don't care. it's like
creative
no, like
choice
I
put
don't
it in
care
your
that they
in-game.
did that.
No,
It's like good.
which-
It's your game. There's thousands of hours of
Exactly.
shit in there.
If you have a problem, the people who are having a problem with it, they could very easily stop playing and go find something else.
Yes,
Oh,
But
yeah.
they've chosen to
Yeah.
get their back up about it. It's
I'm just playing devil's advocate. I think a lot of people are getting annoyed because it's very much just pushed in your face. Where
And I think the way it's getting pushed in your face, because a lot of people's comparisons between this one and the last one were that the dialogue's not really. It's like you're getting talked at.
yes, yeah, that's what it was. It was the dialogue's like
Very
viewer,
patronizing
you've
and
done the wrong thing.
can I mean, I know we're getting deeper and deeper into this now.
That's fine. I go ahead.
how far does the rabbit hole go?
Look at the other side of that though.
Matrix.
Like
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that sort of like we're talking to you, like
Absolutely
talking
watching that
at you.
tonight.
Because look at it from the other side for those people who that is their life.
I mean,
they're
in general,
constantly
not
being
just that
taught.
conversation, but the whole.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, they're being talked at by all these people who have no actual idea of what they're going through. They have all they know is their normal life, talking at people like, no, you're wrong because you should be the same as me. Like,
It's like Old Love Tonight.
yeah.
Learn to reverse park.
But at the same time,
Stressing me. out. Yep.
you can. I was just thinking about that. There's like
You can educate in a better
there's-
way to do it.
Yes, but at the same time, I was just thinking I've seen it with other things that people haven't had
As
a
big
problem with.
Yeah.
Like for example, when I was looking back at COD, I think there was a part I could be completely misinterpreting. It's just talking about war is bad. We've killed this many people. The US have done this. We shouldn't be doing this. Blah blah blah. And people don't really have much of a problem with that because guns shoot, go play game afterward. I shoot bad guy
It's the
head.
way it's
Explosion,
delivered. Yeah.
explosion,
Yes.
flame. Look.
No, but there's times where it's straight out. It's not for a very long time though. Maybe that's the thing that's triggering people as much.
Do you happen
I'm not
to
saying
know-
triggering in the N word. I'm just saying it how it normally is. I shouldn't
We
have
will move off Dragon Age in a moment, but do you happen to know that particular conversation with that character? Is it part of the main story, or is it possible
No
to
idea.
miss that?
I got a
conversation
feeling it's
entirely?
probably just a side
But-
thing.
Yeah, which
people always have it.
hissy
bit
fit
about-
over all of that.
I remember when I think we mentioned it before, there were sections, not today on a different episode, that there are parts of the game that people weren't able to review and they had to leave out
Yes,
of their
no,
reviews.
that-
And
Oh,
I think it's
okay,
this
yep.
section.
That was one of the biggest things. You
like,
cannot
don't
talk
do-
about this character. You cannot talk about the quest. You cannot talk about this. You cannot talk about that. And it was all to do with this character because I think they knew. It could have also been
That it
used
was-
as a stunt to try and get people
Correct,
to talk
but it
about.
could also be so that people don't hear that first and then make their decision up before
Yes,
they actually
yeah.
purchase the game. I think there's a way to do it, and they didn't handle it. best.
There's a lot of stuff in games that, whether political or not, there's a lot of unskippable stuff that brings a game down, or stuff that negatively affects a game that you otherwise wouldn't know about. And Animal Crossing, the original Animal Crossing.
It's a segment.
Yep. On the GameCube, I don't know if it did it on the 64 version, but when it was Animal Forest
year you
in
were
Japan.
born.
Anyway,
Are
Animal
you
Crossing.
going to forget your point? Because I quickly
No.
want to say something. All right. If people didn't know, the first Let's Play of all time was on Animal Crossing, and it was Chris Chan taking a video of his screen playing Animal Crossing. Keep going.
We love
so
Sonic.
much.
Continue, Brock, please.
Animal Crossing on the GameCube, because it like ran on a real world clock, it expected you to, anytime you finished your play session, you would go and save, because it would try and save all that stuff happening. If you didn't, if you just reset it or just turned the console off, the next time you like logged in, loaded up your save,
Your crops would be dead.
no, a raccoon, not a raccoon, sorry, a mole
Spike
character would pop up and berate you for not saving the game. It was called Mr. Rossetti. His entire
yeah, I know,
purpose was there just to berate you for not saving the game. And it was an unskippable. He had like 19 to 20 different
Things that he could say.
different things,
Yeah.
and these went on like speeches that went on for about 5 minutes, and you could not skip them. He had to go through the entire thing each and every time. I've seen all of them, because once I learned they were there, I was like, I'm just going to keep resetting. I want to see
freaking
more
do
of
it,
this.
bro.
I want to see all the bits, because it was
very
funny at the
epic.
time as well. But lots of people hate the fact that you can't skip his things. It's like, I only have 20 minutes I can play today. I just want to get in and like quickly check what's in the shop and then
Yeah.
and get on with my life.
But also,
It's-
just save your damn game.
Yes.
It's not that hard.
No, it's not. The amount of times I've turned off my PS2 and forgot to save.
Bro,
and
how many
was
times have
devastated.
we saved it here?
At least 14. You've only seen, I don't know how many.
Yeah,
runs.
we have
7.
8, 9, 11.
We filmed
Whatever.
4 and didn't release 4.
By the time they've seen this, they'll have seen
Oh,
10.
whatever. Let's keep going.
Next.
But
So wrong.
yeah, no, it's I think that's the reason people are getting pissed about this Dragon Age thing. I don't think
They think it's political, and it.
It sort of is, but it's also just handled the wrong way. There's more creative ways to do it that don't anger your section of your fan base.
I mean, Witcher 3 had a bunch of people get angry because of certain characters in there as well, and it was definitely political.
Really? I don't remember. Honestly, don't remember.
Witcher 3.
I honestly don't remember. I'm asking. That's
Biggest
why.
thing was that, like, I mean, one of the big things was basically racism.
I don't remember this at all.
I mean, there's also racism.
About how all
Skyrim.
the demi-humans were treated differently to actual humans. About how elves and dwarves, like, they were always, like, given the crap parts of the town. They could only get crap jobs. You don't remember any of that?
No, I don't. I
Okay.
played all this game. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I just don't remember. What was the controversy though?
People like did not like just being called outright racist because they saw themselves reflected in some of the bad characters, we'll say.
Okay. Tying that back to the other things.
No, I don't want you to quickly go past. What? So people getting annoyed that these characters in the game were treated bad and they were
People-
seeing themselves in those characters.
No, it was more that like
That's what I understood it as.
Yeah, because that seems
Sorry.
like a big stretch.
sorry,
They should really
some people were getting annoyed, or I say some.
Don't
people,
beat around any bushes because I honestly don't know what you're talking
I saw
about.
plenty of reviewers trying to call out the game, saying like, "Oh, it goes all in on the fact, trying to say that racism is like everywhere and that like it's all bad and da da da," and the subtext of it was that they were seeing themselves reflected in some of like the priests in the game and the mages in the game, like the people who were the ones actually, what's the word? Showing prejudice against these people. They were seeing their own prejudices reflected in those characters. Like they were seeing their own behaviors on the screen right there.
So they weren't happy seeing a reflection of themselves.
So
in the game.
They felt that the game was calling them out for being racist.
Oh, that seems
that's
like
a personal problem.
Yeah, that seems like a nothing thing. That seems like someone who's just got their own vendetta because they might be racist themselves or something. I don't know. That sounds very strange.
And I mean, if they had an awakening playing The Witcher 3, I mean, good on them. But
yeah.
but back to the original point we had before all this, I didn't play any of the other Witcher games. Did you have any?
No. Oh,
any
we've
gold?
talked about this before, yeah.
Did you have any want to go back
No.
and play 2 or 1?
No.
No.
I tried to go back and play 1 again. It's again.
I still
I'll
haven't
go
finished
back.
3
Because
I
that
know
was
what happens, but I haven't finished it.
We actually talked about this with The Witcher 3. We were saying that I feel like most people who played Witcher 3 didn't play the first 2, and
No.
and you were like, "Oh, I've played them," but yeah, very small minority.
Same with Far Cry. People
'cause-
didn't play 1 or 2 as popular as 3 was.
Yeah, nowhere near as much. So yeah, because 3 was a big reset.
I love 2. 2 was great.
2 was a very different
Little
game.
yes, it was. I liked that the map was
Well,
on the dash when you were driving.
biggest thing. Have you played Call of Duty 1?
Not the original one. I played like the
no.
PS2.
No, so you haven't played Call of Duty 1. You've played Call of Duty 1. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, and 4, and have not played anything.
I
past
haven't
that.
played 2 or 3. I played 1.
I had Big Red one and something
They
else.
were all the
that was
side ones. Yeah.
yeah.
Big Red one's like front line or something like
Yeah.
that. Big Red one I think was Treyarch's first one.
Yeah, it was great. That and the
But heaps of
Metal
people
one.
haven't played the first Call of Duty game, which is fair. There's like literally like 16 of them or something.
And it was PC only, so if
It
you
came to Xbox later.
oh did
Yeah, that's how I played it. Yeah.
fair.
they're all on Xbox. They're on
Yeah,
Game Pass
your
now,
health
aren't they?
your health doesn't regenerate. You got to get health packs. It was a cool World War II game. Very polished for its time.
Yeah,
You look at it and it's like, hey, it still looks old, but it's like sort of
It's-
like Halo. How
yeah.
Halo, it looks old, but it feels really good, and it
holds
doesn't
up
have
for what
jank
it
in
was.
it, I guess you could say.
I mean it's clunky compared to today's games,
Of
but
course, but it was 20 years ago.
performs well enough that you're like, I can look past the jank.
Yeah, exactly.
See, that's the reason I don't go back and play a lot of like PS3 games or anything now, because if they've had like a remaster to PS4, playing them now on the 5, they don't hold up. Like
No.
the remasters don't hold up. I'd rather go back and play the original one and have it look as it's intended rather than have a remaster.
There's a lot
version
of games
jank.
where it's the games sort of in the PS2, PS3 era just look pretty shit now, and I sort of want to skip them, but I'll play stuff before that,
Yeah.
so it's almost forgivable.
It's
There's not as many jagged edges, and it just looks.
there
a
was
bit,
still quite a few games in the PS3, Xbox 360 era that they were still sort of trying to like do 3D properly.
Yeah.
Like a lot of 64 and original Xbox games and original PlayStation games, if they were trying to do 3D, they look so bad that you're just like, I can't. No, I don't want to. It just hurts my brain. Whereas like you go to things that were coming out like just a year before and they were 2D, they look really
Oh,
good.
yeah, no,
they
'cause
play really well because they
yeah.
were well polished. That early 3D era is,
You know,
but it's like early all the way through to like 2010. Some of the
There's
games coming out were
some-
bad.
early 3D games that I still can play because they polished and made them stylized enough that I can get through it. Like Banjo-Kazooie.
Banjo-Kazooie.
I don't have a problem
Super
playing
Mario
that.
64.
I think 64 looks way worse than Kazooie. Banjo-Kazooie.
It
'Cause
does.
was way more jank. The textures are pretty
There's like
shit
seven
comparatively.
sides of the polygons in Mario when you
Yeah.
run
Yes.
around, and it's
Yeah.
ridiculous to look
Where
at.
in
but it
Banjo-Kazooie
performs
there
well
is as
enough
well.
that you
You
don't.
don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was literally, my comparison was going to be I prefer playing Banjo-Kazooie way more than 64.
Yes.
I think they're way better games.
What's Conker's Bad Fur Day? Did you ever play that?
I never played Conker's Bad Fur Day, but it's also in the same camp because I mean it's rare.
And they polished it enough,
Yep.
the look of it, that
Same
you can
with
get away
Donkey
with.
Kong 64,
Yeah.
Diddy Kong Racing, GoldenEye. Even though that's a rare game, has a little bit of jank in it.
Because
Perfect
they were-
Dark looks good though.
Yeah.
Not good, but it
looks-
has a bit more of that polish.
Yes.
And I think it's because they had a lot more artistic license with something that wasn't supposed to be set in the real world.
Yeah.
They also had learned enough from GoldenEye. They could go,
Exactly.
okay,
Yep.
we got experience now.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, there's someone.
Someone has
walking
entered our factory.
in our factory of children. But I think we can have a little short one.
Yeah.
This
I
week.
think we've covered.
We've talked about it a fair bit.
Yeah. I'm happy with that.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, Brock, is there anything you want to say?
Yes. We will save it there.
All right. See ya.
God, yeah.
Bye.
Bye.